All right. All right. Chapter 2 of Matthew. We're going to keep going. Now, when Jesus or Yahshua was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem. Now, who is Herod? Because Herod just pops up on the scene. A lot of people know him as the king of Judea at that time period. But let's look into his origins, because when we look into his origins, that will set up the context of who he is and the opposition that he had against a born Messiah, and why he has such animosity towards him. So let's look into his origins. And I like the Blue Letter Bible because they give a real good description of him. So Herod means heroic. We see Herod, we see Antipas, Herod the Great, and Herod Agrippa. So Herod was the name of the royal family that flourished among the Jews in the times of Christ and of the apostles. Herod the Great was the son of Antipater of Idumea. And for those of y'all don't know, Idumea is the Greek variation of Edom. So Herod the Great was the son of Antipater of Edom. So he was actually an Edomite. So let's see, continue on, how did Herod become the king of Judea if he came from Edom? So he was appointed king of Judea BC 40 by the Roman Senate at the suggestion of Antony, with the consent of Octavian, who was the emperor at that time. He at length overcame the great opposition which the country made to him and took possession of the kingdom BC 37. And after the battle of Actium, he was confirmed by Octavian, whose favor he ever enjoyed. He was brave and skilled in war, learned and sagacious, but also extremely suspicious and cruel. Hence, he destroyed the entire royal family of the Hasmoneans, put to death many of the Jews that opposed his government, and proceeded to kill even his dearly beloved wife, Marian, of the Hasmonean line, and his two sons she had born to him. Now, a lot of people don't know about the Hasmoneans, because the Hasmoneans, they're the in-between dynasty. When we think about the book of Malachi to the book of Matthew, there was quite a few events that happened from that time period, and some of that is detailed in the book of Maccabees, which is in what we call the Apocrypha. And if you have a King James 1611 Bible, it's in the middle between Malachi and Matthew. And in the book of Maccabees, when the Greeks, when Alexander the Great took over that land, and he when after he died, he left his the land that he conquered to four generals, and one of the generals, Antiochus Epiphanes the Fourth, he was in control of the land of Palestine, and he cruelly subjected our people, and he made it basically illegal to practice the laws of the Most High, and which was a prophecy that the book of Daniel had prophesied about. There's going to be a time where basically our people is going to go to a very hard travail, and it was going to be judgment for our people for the sins we committed. But the Maccabean line, they actually were able to fight off and actually form their own government to fight against the Greek government, and they were actually able to get help from the Romans to stop the Greeks from battling them. In the midst of that, or years later, after the original Maccabees died, they left the secession, and they decided to keep their line as the kingship, because they honestly didn't trust their own people to kind of keep their own tradition of having the Levites be the priests, as well as the line of David be the king, because there were still David's descendants. They were in line to be the king or to be the leader. But the Maccabees, they honestly, they didn't trust them to be the leaders. So they stayed in their own family line as the leaders. And that's what became the Hasmonean dynasty. And at the time period, there's a man named Hyrcanus. I think he was either the grandson or the great grandson of one of the Maccabees, the original Maccabees who fought the Greeks. And in order to maintain his rulership, he was able to make himself be a priest and a king. And also, even though he wasn't a Levite by blood, and he also converted the Edomites or the Idumeans at that time to be a part of the quote unquote Jews religion. And that's where we get Antipater. So Antipater was a converted Jew through the line or through the edict of Hyrcanus. And that's how, that kind of came about. And like the first few lines said that Antipater, he was basically, cool with the Roman government. And so the Roman government, they liked Antipater, who had eventually converted to the Jews religion. And they said, well, since you're already associated with them, you should be the leader of these people. And so Antipater had a son named Herod, who became the king of the Jews. So that's how it all happened. And Herod was a cruel person that he actually killed the remainder of the Hasmonean dynasty because he feared that they were going to take power again, even killing his own wife, Marion, and his two sons. So he was just power hungry and bloodthirsty. So the fact that he was going to kill all the firstborn sons who were born in that time period under the age of 2 years old, that just showed the ruthlessness that he had, and the fear that he had that he was going to rule rulership because he knew that he didn't belong on that throne. But yeah, that's the background of Herod. So, and that also builds into a lot of interactions that the Messiah has amongst the people, because he's dealing with people who weren't really belonging to the nation of Israel. And it was causing a lot of confusion, especially along when you add in with the Pharisees and the Sadducees, a lot of doctrines they were teaching the people. So when the Messiah came on the scene, there was a lot of confusion, but that's a little background story. But when we read the Bible in the New Testament particularly, hopefully that gives you a little bit more context of Herod and kind of the situation that was going on. All right, so let's keep going. Verse 2 saying, where is he that is born king of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him. And when Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, Bethlehem of Judea. For thus it is written by the prophet, and thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not the least among the princes of Judah. For out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. And for those of y'all don't know, Bethlehem was also the birthplace of David, King David. So it was, also kind of like it was a prophecy that not only would the king, the Messiah be born of David's stock, it would be at his birthplace as well to, almost show like a sign that, this is going to be the promised Messiah of David's line. So verse 7, then Herod, when he had privily called the wise men, inquired them diligently what time the star appeared, and he sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and search diligently for the young child, and when you have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also. And when they heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was. And when they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceedingly great joy. And when they came, or when they were coming to the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned of God in a dream, they should not return to Herod. They departed into their own country another way. So that's the story of the wise men. You know, they use that a lot during the ritual of Christmas. But you know, Christmas, people don't know the climate in Judea at that time. You know, people don't realize that it gets cold out there. You know, it doesn't get cold like in the winters in North America, but it definitely gets cold. You don't really have people really traveling a lot in that time period, especially wise men with their shepherds and stuff like that. So Christ wasn't actually born in the winter time. He was actually born um most likely in the spring, because not in this gospel, but in I believe the Gospel of Luke, it talks about Christ was born during the season of the taxes, when Joseph had to pay the taxes for his family, and the Roman government, their tax season is the same as America's tax season, which is usually April, because America is the regeneration of the modern day Roman system. Everything is copied and pasted here, and it just magnifies. So it's most likely that Messiah was born at that time period. But that's, like I said, that's just a little tangent. But verse 13, and when they departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. Again, showing Herod's ruthlessness and his insecurity. Verse 14, and when he rose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed into Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of the Lord of the prophet, saying, out of Egypt have I called my son. Now, if y'all know that in the Bible, that's in reference to Moses in Exodus, when he said that, because Messiah is basically doing everything that Israel was supposed to do in Exodus, but he's doing it right. So the same way he was called out of Egypt, he's going to be in the wilderness like Israel was in the wilderness. Originally 40 days. They weren't really supposed to be there that long. They ended up turning 40 days into 40 years, but Messiah ended up fasting for 40 days in the wilderness to, not only to humble himself or to, teach himself obedience and, really get himself mentally and spiritually prepared for his mission that he was going to overtake over. But yeah, he was doing everything that Egypt was supposed to do, or Israel was supposed to do. Now, verse 16, then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceedingly wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem and all the coast thereof from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. Then was fulfilled that was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, in Ramah, where was there a voice heard, lamentation and weeping and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children, and would not be comforted because they are not. And so Herod, he ended up taking a lot of lives, just the same way that the Pharaoh took a lot of lives of the newborn boys who were under the age of 2, just to show the parallel at that time period. In the same way that Moses escaped that, he escaped that persecution because his parents were able to hide him, the same way that the Messiah was able to, because just same way that the Most High used Moses to bring our people out of Egypt, the Most High was bringing the Messiah to bring our people out of a even deeper captivity, because this captivity is going to be of a spiritual and a mental, psychological captivity, as well as physical. But yeah, it's very parallel to the Torah. And also, this also shows the importance of having a good parent, man. I mean, just in general, the child, like I said, the child didn't ask to be here, man. The parents are really responsible for the child. So honestly, if you're not really ready mentally, spiritually for having a child, man, Please don't lay down with the woman, man, because you're not really ready to take that responsibility. That child, you know, is really needing you to be there for them. You have to be there able to protect and provide, and that goes deep. So as a man, especially a so-called black man, you got to be on point, man, because your child really needs you. And you see this in Joseph and Mary. Like Joseph, he got the message from the angel, and he acted. He didn't hesitate. He was already on point. So that's how we got to be as so-called black men if we want to really have children in this world, because there's so much confusion and there's so much danger out here. We have to really be stewards over our child. That's a 24-hour, 7-day a week job. Never, you can't let go of that, man. So so-called black man, protect the child, man. So verse 19, but when Herod was dead, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying, arise and take the young child and his mother and go into the land of Israel, for they are dead which sought the young child's life. And he arose and took the young child and his mother and came into the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus did reign in Judea, and the rumor of his father Herod, he was afraid to go thither. Notwithstanding being warned of God in a dream, he turned aside into the parts of Galilee. So that's how the Messiah ended up in Galilee. And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophets, he shall be called a Nazarene. And Nazarene, like Nazarene or a Nazarite, really. That's kind of the context that was put in back in the day. That's that was somebody, how the definition means someone that was separate. And to be a Nazarite is just a vow that you make. You could be a woman or a man to make that vow where you choose not to drink anything from the vine, whether it be grape juice or alcohol. And then you also don't cut your hair. And you make that vow for a certain period of time. But and that's a vow you make, just between you and the Most High. But yeah, we see that Samson, he was a Nazarite. Elijah was a Nazarite. At points in Paul's life, he was a Nazarite. He took the vow for a certain time period, and even the Messiah for a time period, he was a Nazarite. So, but I think you can read that. It's in the book of Numbers. I forget exactly where. I think it's should be in here somewhere. But yeah. But that's all I got right now. We'll go and continue with chapter 3. All right. Peace.